Come and get started on a new mission, a new direction, a new intention. Welcome to 5.8G Alive at Connections 50 Plus. I am Terry-Ann Joseph Brathwaite.
And I am Jennifer Gibbons Joseph, catering to all your prospects in the third act of life.
Economic well-being, social gratification, personal fulfillment.
Join us on Wednesday at 6 p.m. on Connections 50 Plus Facebook page, YouTube channel,
and on Gael the Caribbean.
Good afternoon, everyone, from the Belize right across to Guyana throughout the Caribbean. It is Wednesday, 9th of June. It's 6 o'clock in the evening. You're on Facebook on Connections 50 Plus, or you're on YouTube on Connections 50 Plus, or you're on Gael. So this is Wednesday, 5.8G Alive. Jennifer. Oh, I am Terry-Ann Joseph Brathwaite, and I am really excited this afternoon. Jennifer, how are you going?
Yeah, I'm doing great. And I am Jennifer Gibbons Joseph. And again, welcome to Connections 5.8G Alive.
Okay. Yeah. So this is a special show because we have sent out a notice telling you that we have a special guest. We have a noted sexologist. You're going to meet her just now. And we invited you to participate, viewers. And we want to thank many of you sent in your questions and your comments. We want to thank you. So we're going to go to our Being in Tune. So here we are. So Jennifer, we are in Being in Tune.
Hi, so we have with us as our special guest, and I'm saying special because we're also excited to hear. We have Onika Henry, and Onika is a sexologist and a sex educator of O. Henry Consultancy.
Thank you so much for having me. Looking forward to sharing.
Great.
So Terry-Ann, I would leave you on this section to chat with Onika, and I will come back in for the questions.
See you soon. Okay. Okay, Onika, as Jennifer said, it's really a pleasure having you on board. And we think it's so very important in this section, which we call Being in Tune, that we really come to grips with our sexual selves, our sexuality, our gender, whatever it is. And especially for our cohort. I think our generation is one that has not been as free and has some trouble with the translation. So firstly, let me ask you, what is a sexologist? And why would our cohort need to come to you? Yes.
Okay, so let's start with the term sexologist. It's a very broad umbrella term that describes anyone who studies human sexual behavior. And under that broad term, we have persons who will specialize in certain aspects of that study. So there are the sex researchers, and they would study human sexual behavior. And then you have the sex educators, and those are trained to develop curriculum, to do lesson plans, to present training workshops, etc. And then you have those who are clinical sexologists, meaning that they work with persons, individuals or couples one-on-one to help them resolve their sexual issues. And under that term of clinical sexologists, you have those who are sex coaches, those who are sex counselors, and those who are sex therapists. So, they would work with clients in slightly different ways, hence the different. That's basically what the term is about. And I'm actually in my office today.
Yes, a beautiful office. I love your colors.
Thank you. And when people come to see me here, they come to talk about what part of their sexual health they are not satisfied with, what parts they find that they have challenges or blockages with, or even if they have trauma, or if they are trying to deal with issues that are actually painful when it comes to sexual intercourse. And so my work looks like any other helping professional. So you would go into a psychiatrist, psychologist, counselor or therapist office or social worker.
Yeah.
And you sit and you chat with them and you talk about your issues and they give you insights. They use particular methodologies, particular kinds of ways of interacting with you to help you think differently and therefore behave differently, tips and techniques, etc. That is one of the ways in which I work. I'm also trained and training as what we call a somatic sex educator, which is body-based sex education. So that means that I
am learning.
And so that means that I go beyond the talk. And when I say that I go beyond the talk, we do exercises with their bodies. I teach breathing exercises, different types of yoga and yoga stretches. And I do particular kinds of touch that help to relieve and release trauma that is trapped in the body. And I also teach about consent and boundaries and how to negotiate with a partner the kinds of sexual activities that you want. And so that may begin to answer the question, why would someone in your cohort want to or need to come see me?
Yes.
I'll go a little bit into detail and be specific about this particular developmental stage in life. We find older, if we used to enjoy a particular way of having sex, that may change because our bodies change. And as our bodies change, they're going to function differently. So relearning our bodies, particularly for women, when we are going through perimenopause and menopause, that aspect of our life, meaning the sexual part of our life, may be a little bit more challenging. And so learning how to navigate and relearn our bodies and how sex is different going through that period and after that period is something that I also help with. And also work with men as they get older, of course, learning how to manage their changing bodies. Erections may be different. Things like arthritis and other kinds of health issues may come into play and affect how our bodies function. And if we're on certain kinds of medications, that also affects how our body functions. So learning how to navigate all those issues as we get older is something that I help people with so that they can maintain a very important and vital part of their humanness.
Yes, being fully in tune. And, as Jen and I continue with our work, we really are encouraging our cohort to live their best life. We say on the second act, you're focused on so many things external to yourself, whether it's career, whether it's raising children, whether it's parents. And now in these years, when we are hoping that a lot of those responsibilities have shed, we can now come back to look at ourselves. And we are saying that intimacy with yourself and with a key partner is probably the foundation of intimacy with everyone else. And there are so many issues that we just not comfortable talking about. From our body parts, we don't know what it looks like. So when you think of us going on to this third act stage that we have to design for ourselves, and we're writing our own script, let's talk about the things that we need to be aware of that could block us. How we get over those obstacles. I'm not calling them taboos. Obstacles.
Yes.
What are the issues that we need to deal with?
Right. So yeah, I would refer to them as challenges or blocks or obstacles. So yes, I like that too. Okay, so when someone comes to me for an issue and I do an assessment, I assess people in 5 areas of their sexuality, because sex is way, way, way more than the body. It's way more than genital behavior.
Yeah.
And so I ask questions and I assess the mind and the mental aspect of sex. And so the blockages and challenges that may exist in that area, it would include, what are your beliefs? What are your attitudes about sex and about sex and aging? What are your beliefs and attitudes about what's appropriate, quote unquote, at your age? And talk about those. Are there any residual or leftover messages that you've lived with all your life, and you're now questioning those messages and those beliefs, whether you got them from society or from religion, or simply from having some really bad experiences in your life? So we assess the mental aspect of your sexuality. And then there's the emotional aspect. Are you carrying any baggage? Do you have issues with trust? Are you able to be intimate? And when I would use the word intimate, or at least when I use it, I like to break it down and play with the term intimacy. So are you letting each other see into each other and see who you really are? And are you able to be open, honest, and vulnerable with a partner and still feel grounded and still feel safe, secure, and loved? So do you have that kind of intimacy? Are you still carrying any fear, shame, or guilt? We call that, some of us call that the unholy trinity, because those three emotions tend to come together.
Yes.
Fear, guilt, and are you still working through fear, shame, and guilt when it comes to your sexuality? And then we talk about what usually people come to see me about, because that's the most obvious, and that's the body-based or physical issues that are coming up as you're getting older. And so for women, as we get older and our hormonal landscape changes, we may find we have issues with vaginal dryness, with being aroused, with being in the mood, or being able to experience orgasms. And so dealing with how do we now change our diet? What do we now have to do physically to rebalance the body, to begin to rebalance the hormones, and prepare the body for that other developmental stage.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do in the meet while you're working through that?
Yeah.
Practical steps and tips to take when dealing with those kinds of issues. Of course, if we're also dealing with other physical issues like having diabetes, what that does to the body, especially for men, it affects men's ability to have or maintain really good erections. And how do you deal with that? What are the practical tips for managing that? And of course, if you have physical pain from maybe arthritis, what are the best ways or most comfortable ways to find new positions that will not have your body in pain or will not have you feeling any discomfort? And so those are the kind of things that may come up. And something that we don't often talk about because our doctors or our medical system doesn't really address it is how do we work with medications that may be interfering with our sexual function?
Okay.
Able to have that discussion with your doctor and perhaps finding an alternative to the medications that you're on that may be affecting your sexual desire and your sexual function. And then we talk about energy. Energy in terms of what's your fitness level like? Are you able to engage in certain kinds of sexual activity? And also energy in terms of, are you able to sense and feel and tap into the sexual energy in your body and be able to move that energy, use that energy for a sense of well-being? And then we also talk about the spiritual aspect of sex. And I would ask questions about what is the role of sex in your life? How is sex important to you? Beyond the physical, what is the bigger picture? And how can your sexual and erotic energy and that part of your life connect you closer to yourself, connect you closer to a partner? And for some people, even give you a greater connection or a sense of being part of life. Does it connect you with the divine? Do you see it as sacred energy? Do you see the act as a act that is ritualistic and can also be spiritual? And what does that mean? And how does that impact the way that you interact daily with life and with others? And so that's the way we assess, and then we decide based on that assessment where the blocks and challenges are and what kind of action plan do we put to get over those blocks and those challenges. I hope that answers the question.
No, it does, because one of the things, when people hear, all right, your whole issue of your sexuality, or you as a sexual human being, most people go straight to the act of sex and not understand that it is such who you are, whether you say it's my gender, my femininity, my masculinity, there is a natural attraction. And by here, I'm by no means taking out same-sex relationships at all. Most people, because they focus so much on that ultimate act, they forget how important we as human beings, we as animals are in terms of completing ourselves. And one of the things Jan and I try to do, and we think it is so important for success in the third act. I mean, we're saying now, live on our terms. Find our passion and pursue it, because now you're not committed to, I have to earn an income, I have to send the children to school. Now you can truly look at yourself and say, what makes me happy? And I believe there's a very direct relationship between who I am sensually and sexually with being happy. And for our cohort, I think we may not give ourselves permission to do it. And I am assuming that you're the doctor that we need to go to fix this.
I'm not a doctor, not yet.
I use the word doctor in the sense of where do I go to fix this? Is that correct?
Understood. And you know what you said that was so important, and actually, how do I say that? So you use the word permission. And one of the models that we use when we are putting together an action plan for somebody is called the PLICIT model. And that P, the very first step in that process, is permission giving.
Yeah.
So before we get into the limited information and the specific suggestions and the intense therapy and the intense coaching, which is what the other letters stand for, we start with P, we start with that permission giving and letting people know it is okay. This is your birthright. This is part of how you were designed, and all permission granted to explore this in ways that are at a pace that's easy for you, in a way that is gentle for you, in a way that's affirming for you. So permission is key.
Okay. Well, one of the things that the Connections 50 Plus 5.8G Alive cohort assumes is that we give ourselves permission to live, to be happy. Hence, we can have this discussion. So, to a person who cannot, will not give themselves permission and therefore really enjoy what is available to them in this, what we think is the best years of our lives.
Right. And so I would do the same kind of assessment. I'm going to ask, what is holding you back? What are your thoughts and your beliefs that are holding you back? What are your fears? What do you think are the negative consequences that you may encounter that may seem so overwhelming or so frightening, or so inappropriate that you're not allowing yourself that permission? And then really break down and analyze whether those fears, those beliefs, those attitudes are realistic. Analyzing whether they are really what you believe they are.
Great.
Perhaps just offering a less intense way of exploring sexuality by offering them or suggesting that start by simply exploring pleasure.
Yeah.
Really pleasure. Start with,
which is not a bad word. Yeah.
Just start with exploring your senses and your sensuality. Checking in with your body, understanding the wisdom of the body, and perhaps playing around and exploring with the idea that we like to share about pleasure and sex. Pleasure is medicine and sex is medicine. And it's medicine not just for healing, it's also preventative medicine.
Onika, I think you've set our being in tune context so well, and you've highlighted the points that our cohort really needs to pay attention to. We are ready to help build and design the script for that stage. So I want to give you an opportunity to just let our viewers know, for those of you who may be curious, how do they contact you? Because we are talking to people across the Caribbean. Do you do sessions virtually?
Yes, and so the interesting thing is my training from the get-go was virtual. So I've always been offering persons the opportunity or the choice or the option of working with me online.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes, so you can find me. Well, first of all, you can find me on Facebook. So my O Henry Consultancy Services. I have a Facebook page on which I share some of the work that I do, and my contacts are there on that page. And so you will find there my phone contact. You can WhatsApp me, and we can continue to communicate from there. So 1-8868. I'll try and go 381-3049. So 81, sorry.
Yeah.
381-3049. I have a website, easy to find. It's my name. So onikahenry.com.
Okay.
Also email me, ohenrybusiness@gmail.com.
All right. So viewers, we have to be in tune. And part of it, we bring people into the 5.8G Alive tribe to help you get there. So Onika's contacts are on, and we are stepping out. This is the end of being in tune. But yes, viewers, we know we got all the questions. So let's listen to a message from Connections 50 Plus, and when we come back, we will be in our tribe.
So, you are over 50. You know what you're about, but you want to have that added edge to streamline your vision. Connections 50 Plus has the product for you. It's the Primetime 5.8G Reset Coaching Package. We can help you to retool and chart your course for a successful third act journey. It's revolutionary. It's a 3-in-1 composite, smoothing life transition, assuring your financial well-being, and empowering your entrepreneurial footprint. This is your time to seize the moment. Take full advantage of this opportunity to become your best self, claim financial confidence, and explore new possibilities. The Connections 50 Plus 5.8G Primetime Reset Coaching Package is a must for you as you follow your passion, love what you do, and do what you love, all while claiming your worth. With this package, you can be well on your way to the best years of your life. Connect with us by going to the Programs tab on your webpage or calling the numbers on the screen. We look forward to seeing you very soon.
Yes, Teria. Yes, the information that Onika shared, it was, I mean, a lot of what she said at my stage in life, 50 plus, you know, Teria, and I actually didn't know.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And
You know,
Jennifer, one of the things that we really want to stress to us is we have to carry ourselves onto the third act stage, each individual, each man and each woman. And because we don't have the distractions of family and children and work, and we have to now face ourselves, and we have energy, we have life, we have pleasure, and we can't pretend that this is not important to us. We can't. So we need to stop.
Yes.
So Jennifer, we now go on to the questions, which we will have in our
community segment. So yes, we have questions. We asked prior to the show, we asked our audience, our followers, to send in questions which we can ask you and for you to answer. So they talk about the picture with depicted two vibrant, healthy, and sexy women. Thank you, whoever wrote that. And so the question was, what are good positions for older adults?
Right. So that depends on the particular challenge that that the older adult is having. But there are three positions that I would suggest that you start experimenting with, particularly if we have issues of mobility or issues of pain. And one is what we call spooning. So spooning, man at the back, woman in front. Right. is one position to take some pressure off the back if you have back pain, right? And it
Okay.
allows the man at the back here to use his hands for, for arousing and stimulate the woman's body. And penetration could take place from the back as well. And it may not, it wouldn't be as deep. And so if the woman has issues with vaginal dryness, or the walls of the vagina have begun to get thin, and so it may be painful, this may be a less painful position. So that's spooning, man at the back, woman in front. That's one. Another one would be, well, a modification of the missionary position. So not just the woman flat and the man on top. What you may want to do for the woman is use something that cushions her back and her hips. And so she needs to find a position that is comfortable for her, and probably come to the edge of the bed and have her legs up, and he is standing, right? So he could use his whole body for thrusting. And it also takes the pressure off of the woman and the man if they have a lot of lower back pain, right? Doggy style is another position that is helpful, especially with lower back pain. What else? And also helps for people who may be overweight, or who may have challenges with the hips, with any hip movement. Style is great for couples in which both or one of them may be experiencing some kind of hip pain, right? And she could also, the woman who is going to be or the partner who is on the bed, who is kneeling, can use pillows and other supports, to make sure that they're comfortable. Woman on top is also another variation. Once the man is able to take her weight, right? That how the woman on top, it doesn't require as much physical mobility, so it's less strenuous for the woman, as well as it gives her greater control over the depth of penetration, as well as the entire front of her body is now accessible to be stimulated by her partner. And then using a chair, so like sitting on the chair, and that gives good support as well for both persons. And the man doesn't have to be standing, so he doesn't have to be standing, so it takes less pressure off of him as well. And so those are just a few that I can think of off the top of my head. But what you really should do is to try different positions, and test them out, and be gentle with your body, and see what works.
So the second question here, one man proposed that the basis of good relationships for a man is to be given any two: sex, food, and a home base. The third he will find elsewhere. If women accept that, there will be no more struggles. Do you agree with that statement?
So if that works for him and the partner he's with, great. It is not the belief or the need of all men. So it's certainly not, it's not a man thing. And if that all men need this and want this, and therefore when women accept that, all will be well. I think he's assuming that there aren't also women who think the same way. A woman could also say, well, all women need is good sex, food, and shelter. And if you only give me two, I will get the third somewhere else. Men are usually not comfortable if she says the third thing is the sex outside with her next man. There's it simply does not work like that for everybody. I think I'm not bashing his belief, or saying that his needs are invalid. That's probably perfectly valid for him. What he cannot do is assume it's valid for every man or woman. And he can, once he has the right kind of conversations and negotiation, he can perhaps find a partner who is fine with that. But that has to be a negotiation. It can't be an assumption. It can't be forced on people. And certainly the way we organize our relationships, the way we like sex, how often we like sex is very, very different. And while there may be some generalizations that we would want to apply to men or women, over time, as society changes, we recognizing that those generalizations are very, very few. There's so much variety within and among men and males, and so much variety within and among women.
Yep.
More variety, within the genders, among the genders, than there is between the sexes or among the sexes. And I say among because genetically we do have more than male or female. That's a whole other conversation.
Yes.
And so what will end arguments are people being open, honest, and vulnerable, negotiating and being very clear about their needs and their wants and their boundaries, and knowing what they're willing to work with, what they want and will accept, and what they'll enjoy, and that'll make them feel safe and secure. And there is no one size fits all.
So Onika, that would answer more or less this question number 3, which is it true that men's focus is on sex and women on pleasure and affection? What is the solution for compatible relationship?
Yeah, so definitely what I just said applies there.
Yes.
The solution is having discussion. And first of all, learning and understanding who you are as a sexual being and what you like and what you don't like. And then being able to express that and communicate that without feeling as if you're being judged. So having a partners who fully accept this is who you are, this is what you like, and I'm okay with that, or I also like those things, or I also accept those things. Part of the problem we've had in this part of the world is because we don't talk about it, we're not having these honest conversations. We're guessing and we're assuming and we don't know. There are lots and lots of women who like lots and lots of sex. And there are men who not into sex. I mean, some of the couples that I have had to work with included the situation where the man had a lower sex drive, and that's just how he is. There's nothing wrong with him, or there's nothing that was broken, nothing went wrong. That is just his makeup. And his partner, the female, she wanted a whole lot more. So, we had to find ways to negotiate so that they both had their needs met. Not every man is always, up and ready and willing and on the go, and sometimes we place these beliefs and we think, and men think this is what they have to live up to, otherwise they're not a real man. And so they find themselves in trouble to live up to this stereotype. And same thing with women. It's really, really not healthy. And they find themselves in my office trying to work through all these, ridiculous, socially imposed beliefs or attitudes that just don't work for who they are. They just not logical and they don't make any sense. So yeah, and there are some men who really want the cuddling and the love up and the nice words. They're not too much into the sex as much, but we don't allow men to be that way. Allow them to be that way. So I hope that answers the question clearly.
Sure. And the other questions, I know you in your chat before with Terry Ann would have covered this also. So I'll just go through it. Is it natural to have a healthy sex life after 50?
Oh, listen, we are still from womb to tomb. From womb to tomb. So yes, it is very, very natural. And in fact, it is encouraged. And it is encouraged because there are real benefits to having a healthy, safer sex life. There are real biological benefits to maintaining that part of your life. And I just want to touch very quickly on an actual physical benefit that we tend to overlook or don't realize the link between that physical issue and having good sexual functioning. And so incontinence, when we laugh, we cough, we jump, we sneeze, and we leak urine. It happens to both men and women. And so part of the reason why that happens is because we're not using the muscles on our pelvic floor. And so one of the ways to exercise those muscles on the pelvic floor, to get blood flowing to that area, to keep that area nourished, is to engage in some kind of sexual activity. If you're staying away from penetrative sex, you still need to access or exercise those pelvic floor through your Kegel exercises or using something that we call a yoni egg. That's a whole other discussion, but there are particular tools that are used to keep the vaginal flow healthy. as well as to keep the pelvic floor healthy in men. So as you get older, those muscles, they get weak and they begin to collapse. And what happens is that your bladder is not held in place. And so because that bladder isn't held in place, yeah, you're leaking urine. And so lots of good sex help with that. I mean, that's the most fun way to deal with it.
Yeah.
You can also do your pelvic floor exercises, your Kegel exercises, solo pleasures if you don't have a partner, using a toy or just using your hands to make sure that I use my model to kind of explain what happens with the pelvic floor and to teach women about using yoni eggs and that kind of thing and why it's important. So that's one of the reasons, as well as keeping our blood pressure low. It actually boosts our immune system to have regular, safer sex. It helps with keeping the skin supple and moisturized. There are lots and lots of reasons to continue to engage in safer, healthy sex as we get older, because sex is considered creating regenerative energy. So if you want to look younger for longer,
So the question, what do you do when there are physical challenges and you don't want to hurt your partner's feelings?
And so that requires a gentle conversation. And it also requires that you recognize sex does not have to be penetrative. Like really good sex does not require an erect penis. It does not require intercourse. It does not require that you do a lot of physically strenuous things. And so first thing, talk about your challenges. Perhaps you may need a mediator, so maybe go to a sexual health professional who will be able to mediate that conversation between you and your partner.
Onika Henry.
Yes, I can help. Yes, and let's first of all, letting your partner know that you miss them in that way, that you really want to connect with them, but you're not sure how, given the physical challenges that you have. And let them know that you're willing to work through or find solutions for those physical challenges. And once again, note that sex and experiencing orgasms does not require strong, erect, hard penises or tight, elastic, moist vaginas. The body is amazing, amazing, amazing. The body is wonderful, wonderful. And there are many, many ways to experience sexual pleasure. And I like to remind people, particularly when they ask those questions, that I have colleagues and friends who have disabilities, who are paralyzed from waist down, who still experience their sexual pleasure in wonderful ways. I had a couple I consulted with a couple of months back. The gentleman, he had got into an accident. It's a married couple. And so, he only shoulders up, is able to move. So he's bedridden most of the time. His wife, she's the one who's scared about, doing anything. And he's like, come on, sis.
Him.
And he's able to
she'll damage him.
Yes, and so finding ways to negotiate that, but he is still able to access his pleasure. He's still able to access his orgasms, even though his body is now completely different. So yeah.
That is so reassuring to hear. I'm sure many people would be very, very reassured by that. Great.
I hope so.
Okay, so are men over 80 able to have sex naturally?
Right. So once again, once we broaden our definition of sex, the answer is a resounding yes.
Yes.
It doesn't have to have strong, hard rock erections. He can have sex naturally. And there are ways, techniques of massaging the genitals that are able to give pleasure and to give orgasmic experiences. So yes, once he's experiencing pleasure, once he's able to access that erotic energy, once he's enjoying it in his body and experiencing orgasm, he's having sex. Doesn't have to have penetration to have sex.
You are just destroying so many illusions and stereotypes. Some men will be disappointed.
Tarian, I was about to say the same thing. But it's great that you are doing that. Boy. Many of our listeners would say, oh, okay, I didn't know this. All right. So, Onika, for women, is the reduction of lubrication after 70 the result of nature saying enough is enough? Is lube now a fixture in older women's cosmetic bags?
So, I mean, if that were true, then we would have to apply that to all aspects of our body and health. You know, so if the teeth fall out, does that nature say enough is enough, no more eating for you?
No more eating.
Or, you know, give up on certain foods.
I love that analogy.
No. What it's saying is, or what nature is saying is, your body is different and you need to do something different. It may be saying you may need to do diet. It may be saying, no, you can have sex in so many other ways besides penetration. So I don't know what nature may be telling that person in particular, but it's nature saying, shut down the sex, because sex is generative energy. It is nourishing energy. There are some cultures who, because they believe that, they encourage couples to have as much sex as they can as they get older, because they see the energy as energy that, as I've been saying, is regenerative, and so it slows down the aging process. And they have particular techniques, especially for men, because in some of these cultures, men are encouraged to have more orgasms and less ejaculation. And that may sound strange, but it sounds strange because we don't recognize that orgasm and ejaculation in men are two different things and can be separated. And so men can have multiple orgasms through learning these techniques and through training themselves, in which they choose or can choose to ejaculate or not, but they can still experience orgasm. So what I'm saying is, and so in these particular cultures, they would teach and they would train you through these breathing techniques, connecting with your pelvic floor, being able to separate, and this is for the man I'm talking about specifically, begin to sense when you are getting close to orgasm and ejaculation, and using muscles in your pelvic floor and your breath and your breathing, you're able to stop the ejaculation but continue with the orgasm. The idea is, if you retain your semen, it's called semen retention. In the non-Western world, in the English-speaking world, it's called semen retention. The idea is that by retaining your semen, when you don't need to use it anymore because you've passed the stage and you want to have children and not thinking about, having any more. So keep that semen, let it regenerate the body, let the energy regenerate the body, but you still experience the orgasms. So the idea is that, yes, have lots of it and keep regenerating,
Okay.
Jennifer, I think that tip alone is helping so many people.
Because of time, so let me don't stop you. Let me just continue, because I have so much to say on this, but let's go on. If a woman has not been sexually active for a while and is hesitant to be intimate again, can you speak on some of the fears that might be holding her back?
Right. And so if it's been a while, there could be a number of fears there. So one, can she trust this person with this, intimate and this special part of herself? Is she going to be able to perform, quote unquote? Is he going to be turned off by her body if she's gotten older and next that way? What is her body image like? Is she afraid of what he's going to say? What her partner is going to say, when she takes the clothes off? And those are just a few reasons I could think of off the top of my head.
Yeah.
What I would suggest, of course, once again, is a conversation and starting very slowly with just exploring touch. Let your partner know that you are interested and that you want to go further, but you want to take it really slow. I just want to start with just the cuddling, with just the body exploration before you get into any actual act of sex. But yeah, those are the few things I could think off the top of my head, concern about her body. Would she be able to perform? Can she trust this person? You know, is this person going to be turned off? You know, is he okay with this? Is he enjoying himself? She may be in her head a lot, you know, about how this is going to turn out.
But it's to have that discussion.
It's to have that discussion and to talk about the fears and the concerns beforehand, and to start slowly and start with sensuality and then slowly build up to the sexuality.
Okay, so we're down to the last 3 questions. All right. A critical issue is our silence and fear of openly discussing these topics or using code words that are not properly decoded. And you know you're dealing here with the 50+ cohort.
Right. I mean, so the only suggestion I have for that is that you deal with your own issues and your own fears, and perhaps, and this may sound silly, but I find it's helpful for some people. Find somebody who you are comfortable with, you know, a good friend, and practice having those conversations.
Yeah,
That's
a great idea.
Test it out in a safe space first with somebody who you're comfortable with. You could go back and forth and role play, you know, so that you can track what the sensations in your body, track how you're feeling, and kind of practice how you might behave in a real situation with a real partner when it comes to talking about sex and asking for what you want and talking about what you don't like and talking about what you'd like to try. That's one thing that I can think about that may help in terms of easing your way into that conversation. But the challenge with using codes and decoding is that you can't assume that the other person knows what you mean. You know, you can't assume that you're on the same page. That's a very risky thing to do, to be speaking in codes. Meant, like, but that is what I mean to me. But that's what I mean to me. That, you know, so you want to risk. You don't want to risk having that huge misunderstanding and those assumptions that will, of course, you know, create very uncomfortable situations or create conflicts, you know. So it's important to be straight.
Well, Onika, you actually preempted the other question, because I think your answer would be the answer to this one. So let me read it still. It is possible that the knowledge men and women assume the other possesses about each other's needs and wants may be completely wrong. And as a result, many of us suffer in silence. Silence kills relationships.
Yes. Yeah. Here's another thing silence does during those sexual experiences. So when you don't empower your voice, you don't have much. You're not giving yourself choices. You're not giving your partner choices. You're not giving yourselves options to do something different, to do something better. And so you're beginning to train your body not to respond. And so after a while, it becomes difficult to experience orgasm and to experience pleasure. Yeah, and faking orgasms does the same thing, because your body knows this is happening, but this is the training that you're giving it. So it's not really receiving, it's not really, it's not really receiving and being stimulated, but you're pretending that it is. And so that's the training that you're giving your body.
Okay.
That's going to set you up later on in life. And eventually you might begin to resent your partner, you know, because that dissatisfaction and that discomfort is building up and it's going on and on over time. And then all of a sudden, sometimes it comes out in a very hurtful way in arguments, you know, and that's something that you really, really, you know, want to avoid. You know, you don't want to, it ends up hurting everyone involved, is what I'm saying.
It's equivalent to living lies.
Yes.
You know, if you don't speak your truth, it comes back.
Yes. Correct.
Right. So on the final question. Okay. This question, Onika, is from men. Very popular question. And they wanted to know, it's on their sexual lifespan and their ability to ejaculate. So bottom line, they want to know how long they can go, what age, you know, they can go until.
Right. And so I did respond to, well, I gave answers before that would answer this as well, this question as well.
Yes.
And depends a lot on your health, the state of your health, how fit you are, and how well you've been taking care of your body from your younger years, because all of that is going to impact on the state and the condition of your body now. And
Yeah.
particularly it is important to note that it is your circulatory system, your respiratory system that needs to be healthy. No, I say circulatory as in blood flow, because in order to have erections and to have that ejaculation, you need to have blood flowing to the penis. And so if you've got blood flow issues, if you've not been taking care of yourself well, if your circulatory system isn't working too well, erections may be a problem, ejaculation may be a problem. However, as I've said before, you don't need to have an erection to have a really good sexual experience. Don't need to have to experience ejaculation in order to experience orgasm, because they're two different activities, they're two different events in the body. And so we are sexual from womb to tomb, as I said. You can keep going for as long as you want, for as long as you desire, for as long as you feel fit enough and healthy enough and interested enough. And there are many ways to explore the erotic energy of the body. So long as you're willing, and as long as your partner is willing, you could experiment and find in wonderful, wonderful ways in which, you know, the creator designed this body that we have. So I don't think the guy should be concerned at all about ability to ejaculate. I think the concern should be, and this is just my suggestion, the concern should be, am I accessing my erotic and my sexual energy in ways that make me feel good, and ways that make my partner feel good, and in ways that enhance my sense of well-being. So, yeah.
Okay. And they can save their semen to nourish their bodies.
There we go. Ah, you're a good student, Jennifer. Things I want to point out, ladies, that for us as we get older, we become multi-orgasmic. It's easier for us to experience multiple orgasms as we age.
Really?
This is really not a time to, you know, well, in my opinion, it's not a time to just let go and give up on the. It is a time to begin to explore even more the wonders of the body. In our field, we say it gets better with age. It should definitely get better with age once you've got the information, once you're more comfortable with who you are, you're able to communicate, and you're taking care of your body and you're eating well. Those multiple orgasms, they're a real thing as we get older. You know, I think that's maybe the advantage we have over the guys.
I was just about to say we limit our orgasms to partners' capacity.
Yes. We
Yes.
tend to feel, because as you were speaking, Onika, I could hear some woman telling me, but Jennifer, we have no male partners. You know, it's easy to say that, but what do we do in our case, you know?
Exactly. And I've been single for quite a while, for a few years. And I have maintained my sexual health, my erotic energy through my own solo practice. And that's another thing we're probably very uncomfortable talking about.
Yes.
Masturbation. But I have what we call a mindful erotic practice. And a mindful erotic practice, you can do several times a week, once a week, you know, whatever, you know, you feel comfortable with that fits your schedule. But it involves creating a nice environment. You may want to have your candles and maybe light music in the background. You prepare your space. If you're using your toys or whatever, you lay them out, because you may or may not choose to use them. But then we do breathing exercises. We check in with our bodies. We do a meditative practice. And then the way we touch ourselves, the way we give ourselves pleasure becomes meditative. It becomes nourishing. And then after we experience orgasm, if we wanted to experience orgasm, if we bring ourselves to that in a mindful erotic practice, we don't have to. Whether we do or not, we spend the last 5 to 10 minutes just savoring, checking in with our bodies. And that is a regenerative kind of experience. It helps you to tap into the wisdom of your body as well. As if we slow down, pay attention, our bodies gives us information that our brains don't.
Too busy.
Yeah.
Onika, let me ask this. This would work for both male and female?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
I
Correct.
think
That's why.
I think that is so important because, Jen, as you know, one of the main issues is, for whatever reason, there are so many single people in our cohort, and men as well as women. And the fact that most people think that you to really express your sensuality and sexuality, you need a partner.
You need a partner, yeah.
I love that topic, and we are coming back with that topic in another show.
Great. And so what a mindful erotic practice does, it not only helps you manage your sexual needs and wants, especially if you don't have a partner. And you can still do it even if you have your partner, because it's a different kind of nourishment. It's a different way of using your erotic and sexual energy. But one of the things that keeping in touch with our sexual erotic energy does is that the more we do it, the more sex we get offered, because our bodies are now producing all these pheromones.
And then now the message.
Yeah, so people are beginning to pick up.
I just love the term because I'm all about energy.
What is it? Mindful erotic energy?
Mindful erotic practice.
Yes.
Well, I was hearing erotic energy.
Well, because that's involved. You are definitely building up, moving, playing with, and exploring your erotic energy during a mindful erotic practice.
That is great.
Onika, we are coming back to do a whole session on mindful erotic practice.
Looking forward.
Really, this is going to, that stage just got a whole lot bigger, brighter, and better.
Let me give a little bit more. Let me chuck some more inside there, because it's so juicy. So one of the things I do with my clients before I teach them how to put together a mindful erotic practice, we do genital mapping.
Mm-hmm.
So with a client, we actually map the genitals. And so, but that's an in-office thing I've done here, but I've also guided clients. That's a one-on-one session.
Yeah.
I've guided clients through a session online, like virtually, because what it is, you are literally, I'm giving you different strokes to try.
Oh, okay.
Different parts of the external and internal genitalia, both male and female. So if it's well, I'm guiding you into the kinds of touch and how to vary the touch with pressure, friction, speed, pattern,
and stamina.
And so when I guide you through a genital mapping and a pleasure mapping, you now have a menu of strokes and touches to use that work for your body, that you could incorporate now into your mindful erotic practice, along with breathing exercises and stretching exercises that we call, like that's been called orgasmic yoga.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is this something that can be done in a group, or is it preferred one-on-one?
It can't. So that's a little tricky. It can be done in a group.
Trusting people. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And also, if we're doing it in a group and we're doing it virtually, you're positioning yourself so that and this is if you're doing it on yourself while I'm guiding, you don't have to, but people do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so you can have the cameras off. So you are seeing me, but I'm not seeing you.
Okay.
And have the camera on and it's positioned on the upper body so that we can still have eye contact. And I'm simply guiding you through the strokes.
Wow.
Say, now touch the outer lips, and I want you to rub them like this. Or I want you to pull, stretch them. Is the stretch more pleasant on the upper part or the lower part?
Okay.
I give people time to go through that. Yeah, do you want tapping? Is it light tapping, fast tapping, hard tapping, or slower taps? You want deeper pressure, and so we're guiding you through
nice.
of the genitals and the body.
Okay, so Onika, we have you booked.
Viewers, pay attention. Look on. We'll be back with it. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Onika.
You're welcome so much, ladies.
So thank you so much. It has been a
pleasure. Yes, Onika. And again, viewers, Onika's contacts are on the screen. Please, it is so important for us to have this third act be our best life. And we cannot have part of our lives blocked up with taboos and fears and silence and
false
code
information.
and false information and assumptions and drop it because help is there. Help is there. So, Henry Consultants by Zoom. So great. Thank you so very much.
You're welcome so very much.
So, audience, let's get real. We know what we have to do with our lives, and Onika is going to be on again, and this is so important to us. She talked about the mindful erotic practice, which we personally, Jennifer and I together and individually, believe is critical. It is a critical part of our lives, and keep on looking because we're going to do something that will allow all of us to learn how to have a mindful erotic practice. So in the meantime, get in tune with yourself, stay with your community, and have a wonderful week.
Yes.
Stay tuned.
So yes, bye for now.
50 Plus Tribe and follow us from Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean.
Thank you for joining us on this Connections 50 Plus 5.8G Alive show.
We hope you enjoyed the lively conversation and look forward to seeing you next week.
Don't forget to like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
We really love getting your feedback. Bye for now.